The price of your power bill is a very complex issue. In fact, we'd argue power is an overarching theme here. Political power, the power of profitability, and your power to change it. We're going to walk you through all of it.
Alabama Power customers are paying some of the highest electric bills in the entire country.
That's Daniel Tate, president of Energy Alabama, fighting to lower Alabama power bills. He's right. Alabama has the third highest residential monthly electric bills in the country, on average $173. Alabama Power customers account for more than half that number. In Alabama, we use more power than most states due to our climate. Take a look. Alabama consumes the fourth largest amount of electricity in the country, and our bills are still the highest. Alabama Power says the bills are higher due to high consumption, noting the price per kilowatt hour falls much lower, 21st in the country. Tate says this has more to do with how much profit Alabama Power's allowed to make.
When you are paying for your electricity, a bigger portion of what you pay to the power company is going out to benefit investors or going to Wall Street.
More to come on that in a moment. First, I need to tell you about the group that controls Alabama Power's profit margin, and you elect them. It's called the Public Service Commission, or PSC.
Their job is to play the judge, if you will, between the needs of a power company and the desire to make money versus also the other side of making sure that regular people get the service that they need at a fair price.
In terms of the PSC, have they been derelict in their duties?
We would argue that the Public Service Commission has allowed this, rate structure essentially that has been essentially unchanged and unchecked since the early 1980s to go on far too long.
Now, this is complicated but important. In most states, when an electric utility wants to raise its rates, they have what's called a rate case. That forces the company to open their books and show why they need customers to pay more. It's a public hearing, the public can weigh in, and often ends in court. This hasn't happened in Alabama since 1982.
How do we know that we're actually getting a fair deal? Well, we don't. They should match the practice of practically every other utility company, including its own sister companies like Georgia Power and Mississippi Power.
In the 80s, the PSC switched to a formula rate. That formula adjusts Alabama Power's bills every year without a traditional rate case. Each December, Alabama Power projects its profits for the next year. If those profits fall below a range, rates go up. The same if it goes above, rates go down, guaranteeing a stable profit each year.
The Alabama Commission is just sort of legendary in that it hasn't held a rate case for Alabama Power in more than 40 years.
This is Ari Pesco, director of the Electricity Law Initiative at Harvard Law School. He says consumers benefit more from a rate case.
Absolutely. There can be billions of dollars at stake, and it's worth the time and the money. We don't just trust a monopolist that provides essential services and doing it for profit.
Tate says this is driving up Alabama Power's profits.
If you look at Alabama Power's return on equity or a marker of their profit compared to neighbors, it's substantially higher. That means that every year Alabama Power collects about $250 to $300 million more in profit.
Alabama Power says the cost of energy is a concern. The price you pay accounts for reliable power and infrastructure improvements. Heads up, this is complex, but also very important. The industry standard for measuring equity is ROE, or return on equity. But the state doesn't measure that for Alabama Power. In 2013, the Public Service Commission switched from using ROE to something called a weighted return on average retail common equity. That's the formula we mentioned earlier, and it shows a much lower number than traditional ROE. So you might wonder, is the PSC propping up Alabama Power's profits? A new report ranks state utility regulators and puts Alabama's PSC in its own category, above average. In plain terms, that means the PSC is considered investor-friendly. We had trouble confirming an interview with the PSC and went to Montgomery for their regular meetings to connect. It's worth noting the commission has new leadership. Cynthia Allman is the new president, recently appointed by the governor. She agreed to speak to us, admitting she's still learning a lot about this process.
What Alabama Power charges its consumers is important to every ratepayer in the state. We have, a lot of poor people here in Alabama, so that's a very important issue.
Do you feel any political influence or any political pressure here?
No.
There's no question Alabama Power is one of the most politically influential companies in the state. Since 2013, they've shelled out nearly $5 million to PACs or political action committees, and Alabama Power's PAC paid out more than $3.3 million directly to candidates. That's nearly $8.2 million combined. Governor Kay Ivey, who appointed the new PSC presidents, received more than $300,000 from Alabama Power since she was lieutenant governor. All of this is perfectly legal. Some businesses would argue it's the price of doing business with the government. So at this point, who else can help? The Alabama Attorney General's office has a consumer division that can file a lawsuit on behalf of ratepayers. But it's unclear the last time it happened. The AG's office told us they represent ratepayers on an ongoing basis, quote, through ongoing negotiations rather than adversarial proceedings. AG Steve Marshall, who would represent ratepayers, has even received $160,000 directly from Alabama Power's PAC since 2017.
Yeah, it's a David versus Goliath fight, but it's one that has to happen because ultimately, at the end of the day, consumers are getting hosed with extraordinarily high utility bills, and it doesn't have to be that way, right? There is a clear fix here.
Voters have the power here. The PSC is elected, and lawmakers can pass a bill to force the PSC to change the way they do business. But you should know, Alabama Power's PAC has donated to nearly every single state lawmaker. I'm Jen Horton, WBRC 6 News, on your side.